We're back with episode 2 of Star Trek Lower Decks. This one is certainly a turn up from last week's premiere and is already standing on its own. Let's dive in and check out the brand new episode. Hey everyone, my name is Captain Jack and welcome to Trek Central. Star Trek Lower Decks episode 2 has aired this morning on CBS All Access and CTV Sci-Fi Canada. Episode 2 is written by Chris Julia and directed by Kim Annett. The prize of the second episode, titled Envoys, is Ensign Brad Boimler and Marina taking on a high-profile mission, which of course goes south as soon as they leave the ship. Before we do warp in, if you're new around here, then make sure to hit that subscribe button to never miss a video. We'll be here every week reviewing brand new episodes of Star Trek Lower Decks as they air. Also, on Sundays at 9 PM BST, catch us live on YouTube as we discuss the new episodes with special guests and answer your questions. Looking forward to seeing you there. Oh, but before we do even get closer, a spoiler warning. Of course, we'll be discussing the second episode in full, so be warned there will be spoilers for Star Trek Lower Decks, Season 1, Episode 2. You have been warned. Alright, with that out of the way, I think I can say it's warp time. It seems like the beginning of each episode we will get a small little story before the opening credits. This week, as Tendi and Mariner shove some containers around the ship, we meet a glowing orb of energy which phases through the hull of the starship. The orb kind of spouts nonsense about destroying the ship before being tackled by Mariner and beaten into submission. Marina forces it to create the new fancy tricorder with a purple stripe, which it does before becoming so small it destroys itself by trying to kill the captain. Mariner casually saves the day and none of the bridge crew are any wiser. Now what I kind of find funny here is typically this would be a large plot point for a Next Generation episode, meanwhile in Lower Decks it's brushed off as a casual thing that wouldn't really hurt the ship. Mariner also asks it for a cool new tricorder, and with that, let's get to the actual episode. I mean, yeah, it's a bit weird, isn't it? Now this episode I think perfectly pairs with the premiere episode of last week, and if I was being honest, probably should have been released as a pair too. In the first episode we saw the bridge crew that didn't really care about the Lower Decks crew, but as episode 2 shows, we just weren't seeing the whole picture at the time. Episode 2 showed us how welcoming the senior staff were in getting the most out of their officers, with every single one helping Ensign Rutherford discover what his true calling is, even though it might have been where he originally was the whole time. Honestly, my best way to describe this episode is wholesome. Every senior staff member is so welcoming to Rutherford rather than the previous episode. A fun little fact before we jump into our breakdown section of this video is that this is the first episode in the entire Star Trek franchise where a main character has been seen wearing all three colours of the Starfleet uniform in a single episode. Ensign Sam Rutherford goes from Engineering Gold to Command Red and to Medical Blue, but then back to Engineering Gold before the episode is over. Alrighty, jumping into our main review section of this video, I can honestly say that episode 2 has some great moments. Was it better than episode 1? I'm not quite sure, but it was certainly enjoyable and I love the references to other elements of the Star Trek franchise hidden within. You're going to probably hear me say that multiple times over the next couple of weeks, as it appears Lower Decks is chock-a-block full of references. Don't forget to check out our previous video from last week on all the references we found in episode 1, including some very hidden Easter eggs. Episode 2 has two main plots. We've got Ensign Boimler and Mariner escorting a Klingon general down to a planet, or while Ensign Rutherford is trying out new jobs in order to have free time to watch a nearby pulsar with Ensign Tendi. What I love is Rutherford took Tendi's remark a little too seriously, therefore trying out every other section of the ship he can get his hands on. We see Rutherford approaching Chief Engineer Andy Billups, informing him of a transfer to another section of the Cerritos. At first, the Chief kind of reacts badly, but this is a ploy to say that he supports the decision and wishes him good luck, moving Rutherford forward into taking up a command position with First Officer Commander Jack Ransom. Throughout this episode, we kind of see every character Rutherford comes along reacts badly to him wanting to move forward before suddenly switching to reacting positively. Yeah, it's one of those ships apparently. Now Ransom does put Ensign Rutherford through a bridge training holodeck program. I honestly expected him to be tested on some no-win scenario, but it seems that the program is challenging enough, with Rutherford managing to fail it totally. Ransom remarks that no one has ever failed that badly, but oh well. Now of course, while all this is taking place, Ensign Boimler has been tasked with escorting the decorated Klingon general, Corinne, down to the nearby planet, which of course takes a turn for the worst, in typical Lower Decks fashion, which we've kinda come to expect by now. It's also revealed that Starfleet shuttles now come with blast shields, or at least the new ones do. Mariner is also aware who the general is, apparently knowing him before, which you can sort of see annoys Boimler, and is a theme we kind of see from this episode. We're again seeing that divide between Ensign Boimler and Ensign Mariner, as Ensign Boimler is following Starfleet regulations to the dot. However, Ensign Mariner is gliding through everything by the skin of her teeth, which is obviously going to irritate those who are trying to do things professionally and by the book. It reminds me of the latest character trailer in which Commander Ransom tells Ensign Mariner that she always speaks her mind, like she always does. The mission goes upside down very quickly when a drunk General Corinne steals the shuttlecraft and takes off, also hitting a number of transports on his way up. A few little details here. Ensign Boimler is wearing a standard Starfleet dress uniform. The district they land on is called Little Kronos, a play on the fact that Klingon homeworld is also called Kronos, for those who did not know. Now we are seeing Ensign Boimler's Starfleet training being put to the test, as he mentions having to study more in order to keep up to date on what they're experiencing and encountering with the mission. This is while again, as I mentioned earlier, Ensign Mariner is just gliding through without a care in the world. Oh, and plenty of Klingon references are also shown to us as we're in the district of Little Kronos, including Garg, a very Klingon delicacy. Somehow I don't think I pronounced that right, but it was worth an attempt just to say it anyway. Meanwhile, back on the Ceratops, we're spending time with our favourite character in the series so far, Medical Officer Dr. Tanana. Ensign Rutherford is now spending time in the medical bay, obviously wearing a blue Starfleet uniform, while attempting to help with the patients currently in sickbay. Now, while Rutherford is excellent at the actual medical elements of the work, he's not so good at having a bedside manner that is helpful. Dr. Tanana remarks on this, which I find funny as her bedside manner isn't exactly excellent in itself. I find that Trek likes to make many jokes about Starfleet doctors' bedside manner, with many Trek legends having terrible ones. Dr. McCoy was never perfect to start with, neither was the Doctor from Voyager, and Tanana does not strike me as the most welcoming person to be around. Luckily for everyone involved, including the patient, Ensign Tendi is right there able to help. Now Rutherford moves along but later finds comfort in the security department, along with our lovable Bajoran Lieutenant Shax. He's immediately put to the test in fighting Borg with a holodeck program called Smorgasborg, which is an interesting name to say the least. Luckily for us and Rutherford, he uses initiative in the form of his Vulcan cybernetic enhancement and defeats all the Borg drones around him, using some smart moves, might I say. Of course, Shax is shocked, saying "by the prophets," in excitement and bewilderment at Rutherford making light work of his program, which is actually designed to wash out security officers. It's at this point you would think that Rutherford has found the ideal department for him to transfer to, but as Shax is introducing him to the Bear Pack, which is a neat little name, Rutherford is drawn back to the Jeffries tube and his engineering job, leaving him to go back to that career path. Now back on the planet, things are going about as well as you might expect, with bar fights, random weird aliens, and a Ferengi. Yep, you heard me right, it's certainly crazy down there. Boimler is having a moment and reflecting on how he feels bad that he's not getting anywhere with his mission, while Mariner is excellent at everything. We do get a moment of Ensign Boimler throwing his Starfleet comm badge to the ground, saying he wants to leave Starfleet once the mission is over. The Ferengi moment on the episode really got me. Ensign Boimler's description of what makes a Ferengi is right down to the T, with a perfect line of the greedy thing they do with their hands, which is a perfect example of what Ferengi actually do, or while this one is actually doing it behind their backs. Of course, this is later to be revealed to be a ploy by Mariner as she set the whole situation up and to restore confidence to Boimler. The ensign has connections, I'm telling you. How she knows everyone is kinda weird right now, but hopefully we might know some more about this in the future. I mean, we know she served on board other Starfleet vessels, and of course you're bound to run into a Ferengi at some point in your lifetime, most likely rubbing their hands together and trying to rob you of all their latinum, or profit as they like to put it. Eventually, towards the end of the episode, General Corinne is found, drunk in the stolen shuttlecraft, and conveniently crashed outside the embassy. Lucky for him, and us, and also peace talks, he is dragged out to the front of the embassy by Ensigns Mariner and Boimler. Not exactly the standard Starfleet way of doing things, but it does a great job at the end of the day. Back on the ship, Boimler is telling the story of how Ensign Mariner managed to confuse a Ferengi with a Bolian, or so he thinks. Now as she leaves the bar, it's revealed that Ensign Mariner did indeed set the entire situation up in order to reassure Boimler that he does fit and belong in Starfleet. Very wholesome if you ask me. What's even more wholesome is Ensign Tendi does get to watch the pulsar, all while Ensign Rutherford is at work in the Jeffries tube repairing another part of the ship. Honestly, this ship needs a lot of repairs, but it is to be expected with it not being the most important starship around. Honestly, I love how Rutherford took Tendi's comment about quitting his job so seriously, but ultimately ending up where he was in the first place. And of course, that is the second episode of Star Trek Lower Decks. We did get a nice preview trailer at the end of this episode, but we'll go across that at another time. I think it's safe to say that episode 2 gave us a better look and understanding of our characters in this series so far. For example, the senior staff are actually more welcoming to the Lower Decks characters than we were led to believe in episode 1. Sure, they're not exactly perfect, but at least Shaq seems to be the best one so far. Though, Dr. Nana is my favourite, I'm just telling you. The opening to this episode stuck out to me. As mentioned before, a floating orb of energy coming aboard a starship would usually be treated like a big plot point. Here, Marina just attempts shoving it into a canister and then demanding something of it, almost like a genie in a lamp situation. Not the perfect Starfleet approach to the situation, but hey, that's Ensign Mariner for us. Episode 2 stands strong as a quality episode of the series so far. Easily one of my favourites, as it again reinforces the series so far. I can safely say that I am impressed by the quality and attention to detail that Lower Decks is giving us. The references alone stand strong, and I'm sure we're going to enjoy another week of hunting down everything we can find in the episode so far. Of course, do let us know if you find anything that sticks out to you. There's plenty of references hidden around, and I'm sure you can try and spot them all, so let us know in the comment section if you find them as well before our reference video, and we might include some that you spotted. Before we do end this video, we've got some fantastic news. Star Trek Lower Decks Episode 1 is now available to watch for free around the world. Yep, that's right, if you click the link in the video description below, you'll find that the CBS YouTube channel has uploaded Episode 1 of Lower Decks. It appears to be working around the world, so go ahead and enjoy it while it lasts. This is a great opportunity to show CBS how much you're excited for the series. Hopefully an international deal soon, or some news about it. I kinda hope so. Now that's it for our review of Episode 2 of Star Trek Lower Decks. Please share your thoughts with us on the second episode via the comment section below. We'll be back later this week with our references and Easter eggs video, but don't forget, this Sunday at 9 PM BST, we'll be live on YouTube with our weekly live stream. Tune in, and I hope to see you soon. If you're looking to keep up to date with the latest Star Trek news and more, be sure to hit that subscribe button to never miss a video. You can also follow us on social media for daily updates on the Trek universe, or join our community Discord server to chat with like-minded Trekkies about the shows you love. Alright, that's everything for today. Thanks for watching everyone, I've been Captain Jack, and I'll see you next time. Live long and prosper, my friends.